Almost from the very beginning of online marketing and online business, one of the most astounding advances was all the data that we could gather from all of our online activities. Now, you can probably tell that I'm not all that young anymore. When I started my marketing career back in the mid-'80s, a common lament was, I know I'm wasting half of my marketing budget, I just don't know which half. Well, that's not a problem anymore, because in this digital, virtual, electronic realm, we can measure almost everything. In this section, I'll take you through 3 primary ways to get brilliant insights from your human-computer interactions using data. Now that we've covered the human computer and the interactions realm of human-computer interactions, now I want to move on to the methods of inquiry. And of course, all of this that I've covered is all invisible. And so you're going to need these methods of inquiry in order to make the invisible visible, to get the hidden out where you can see it and evaluate it and decide what you need to do about it. We're going to start with 3 methods of quantitative inquiry. In the bonus, when you go get that, I'll also reveal some new approaches for qualitative inquiry. Firstly, we're going to cover data, which is pretty essential. So learning how to conduct an in-depth leading-edge human behavior inquiry that hopefully has a direct impact on the quality of your professional results and your professional life. Again, as I've mentioned here before, it's one of the most valuable and revealing endeavors you can pursue if you're trying to do anything online. And of course, how many of us are not doing things online these days? So the primary and the best quantitative, data-oriented means for uncovering all those hidden events, those hidden user events, include 3 primary approaches. So let me mention these and then we'll go into them in more detail. First of all, it is all about structuring and measuring task completion by users. When people go into whatever it is you're doing, app or social media or website or intranet or whatever it is, they want to accomplish something. It's all task oriented. So there's very specific ways to measure how successful they can be at that. And again, that's hidden. You'll have to find ways to uncover that. Second of all is doing comparative testing, usually referred to as A/B tests, or there are other ways to describe these, but A/B test is the term that we're going to use here. And this is a way of comparing one set of options against another set of options and measuring which ones are the most successful based on actual user behavior. And then third, there's a really rich and varied process of gathering metrics about user data, either on a small scale or on a massive scale, and all scales in between. Of course, this includes knowing how to analyze all that data once you collect it. But fortunately, there are now very many simple as well as very complex tools available for all that data collection and all the analysis as well. So many tools, in fact, that if you're not using some of them now, you're probably missing a major opportunity. And they're not that hard to learn. So as I've shared in this realm of the human-computer interface and human-computer interactions, the key challenge that you face is the fact that all the determinants of your success are invisible. And so you don't know what is happening or what to do about what is happening. These quantitative methods of inquiry, as I show them to you, my goal is to get you in a state of knowing about what is happening, and then more importantly, knowing how to know, knowing the methods and the tools and the processes available to you to uncover all of this. Let's go back through these in more detail. So I mentioned the task analysis already. And then this largely falls into the realm of usable, but it really goes beyond that. Now, of course, tasks are those outcomes that users want to achieve with your programs and what it is you want them to achieve. Hopefully, what they want to achieve and what you want to achieve are similar or even better, identical. So tasks are the most direct quantitative analysis here. How long did users take to complete a task? How many tasks were completed successfully? How quickly did users learn and improve their tasks? Were they able to complete the tasks at all? So that's really important. So you have to identify your goals, you have to identify who the users are, you have to test rigorously. Users may go off on different trails, and we talked about that in the section on seamless, and you will want to fix what you find and then test it again to make sure that whatever you changed is actually working. Let's talk about A/B testing. So again, this is a comparative method that runs real users through different scenarios or different offers or different functions and then measures which ones performs best. You really should be including A/B testing in everything that you do, all your online activities. Many companies and organizations do this continually. So they're always comparing their best user experience, their best offers, their best content with their best new ideas. And virtually any online platform today, wherever you're hosting, whatever marketing tools you're using, many of them have A/B testing features built in. So it's real easy to turn this on, set it up, to manage it. And the results you'll get will keep you constantly improving, always getting better. So let's talk about data analytics. Now, this is potentially a complex science. There are a lot of tools out there. Some are very expensive and can take months to learn. Now, those systems are not necessary to gather a considerable amount of information and insight about your user population. But despite the cost and the effort, many companies have chosen to go after these and do this now. They're able to gather tremendous insight into their entire population of users. I mean, that's really what analytics are all about. By looking at large data sets over long periods of time, over large numbers of transactions and large numbers of users. So obviously these data tools include a lot of innovative algorithms and methods to sort and analyze all that data in ways that will help you uncover new insights, help you get more information about all that's going on. And what you're going to learn through all of that is insight that you cannot get any other way. I mean, it's really totally cool. It's very powerful if you're willing to tackle it. If you're at all familiar with this new, not so new anymore, with this whole concept of big data, what this data analysis provides is not unlike what a lot of other big data applications do. It's going to give you insight into patterns, trends, human behaviors, and may even be able to do some predictive things, looking at the future. If you do this, then this will happen. Now, you don't need to go the distance and figure out all the power and complexity of this deep science, because some companies have entire armies of people that do this. You can start simple, and you can use basic tools like Google Analytics that will allow you to look at traffic on your website, for example. Now, with tools like that, they're mostly free and they're mostly fairly easy to learn. You'll be able to do some pretty simple tests to start to understand, for example, where are people getting hung up? Where are they getting lost? Or where are they abandoning and going out those exits? It will point out where you might need to do some further research with real users, like further qualitative research, like really interacting with real people beyond the data to see what's actually going on. So the data and the analytics are really help you uncover things like where are the bottlenecks occurring, what is happening or not across large numbers of users' interactions. Then, when you sit down to act with real human users, you can focus on why those things happened as opposed to the what and the where. And again, just like with direct testing with users, with all of these quantitative approaches, you can uncover critical insights and opportunities that are not available anywhere else. And not only that, but they're probably going to be critical to your success and your user's success. So you can see why that's so important. They're critical to your success, and you can't find them any other way. So you really should be doing this. So let's talk a little more about the difference between the quantitative and the qualitative. It's important to really understand what each of these provide and how they play together. The quantitative methods, the data methods that I just described, it will tell you a lot about, not surprisingly, about numerical results. How many people, how many transactions, when did they occur, where on your site or where in your app, how often, how many times. And of course, all of those are very data oriented. You'll be able to identify problems, know how many people experience the problem, those kinds of things. But they're not going to reveal much about why. You'll know what happened, but you won't necessarily know why. So that's where the qualitative methods are essential. They're priceless, because then you'll be able to sit down with real people, basically run them through the same steps where the data looked, and then see actually what happens with real people and real behavior. Then you're going to be able to ask real people those why questions. You can't ask the data a lot of these why questions. Now, one thing is certain. Quantitative is good for certain types of discoveries. Qualitative is better for the why and related types of discoveries. But don't choose one or the other. Do both. They will inform and guide each other, and together they're much greater than the sum of the different elements that they bring to the table. Now, additional benefits of the quantitative data methods is your ability to analyze high volume data sets. All your users, all your transactions over long periods of time, over multiple sites, whatever it might be. With qualitative, when you sit down with real humans and do the qualitative inquiry, there's just no way to test everything that you're doing. There's just way too much stuff, especially if you have a larger, more complex site. So that type of qualitative testing is bound to miss some of the more subtle transactions, the outliers, functional problems, bottlenecks, hidden things where people are getting stuck, etc. So this blanket coverage that the data, that the quantitative approach provides is also very useful and critical if you're migrating users from an old system to a new one. Or if you're taking multiple systems and integrating them where users have to make key transitions from one example to another. For example, if you've got a product catalog on one system and a shopping cart on another, and you want to just be able to view your whole population of users and verify that they're getting where they need to go and finding what they need. The latest data analytics tools for user experience are often helpful in solving and getting insights and really understanding how to solve those kind of problems. But again, beware, they can be expensive, they can have long learning curves. Companies that use those really in-depth tools have usually dedicated a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of money to set them all up and gather all the data and then really figure out how to analyze everything that they're producing. No matter the size of your business or operation, though, any of these tools, any of the simpler tools for small sites are still going to give you high quality insights and information that is really going to help you figure out how to be more successful. And in this context, the more you can create some kind of model, some kind of business performance model, for example, a conversion or sales funnel, to understand how many people saw your link, how many people clicked on it, how many people went to the website, how many then signed up. You can take all of these and map them into some kind of a funnel or other business model that's going to help you understand where to measure, how to tweak those bottlenecks, and really start to grow your business more effectively. And again, as I mentioned, do both because each informs and guides the other. So why is all this important? They're going to reveal critical insights available no other way. And those two are so critical. Those two are so important. So they're critical, they're important, and you can't find them any other way. The combination of those two things is just well describes the imperative of doing all this. They complement and inform pretty much all the other processes that I describe here in the workshop and the bonus and ultimately in the Mastermind Academy. It's going to give you also the opportunity to get to problems before they come too big. So small things that are happening today eventually could become much larger. So in other words, if you're losing a little bit of money today, the longer you let that go, the more you're losing. So there's no point in letting those go longer than they need to be. If you're a larger organization and you can afford all the effort and cost involved, going after the larger analytics systems and applying those continually, progressively, you're potentially going to make some significant impacts on your business. And there are plenty of case studies and examples of where people have done that. And in some of the more advanced topics later on in the workshop, I'll cover some of those about how people do that and how important that is. These quantitative methods are important because many of the other HCI principles and practices that I talk about here use what I consider to be small samples. We go deep on those small samples, but they're still small samples. The quantitative measures are going to give you the coverage across your entire operation and all your users that you can't get with those more in-depth methods that use the small samples. And then finally, there's so many great tools out there. There's become so much easier and so much more affordable. You're just really missing out if you're not doing some portion of this today. So what do you need to know in this whole realm of methods of inquiry? This could cover another whole workshop, but I'm going to touch on the key points here. There's a lot to know here. And simply knowing when to use which method can be challenging. So you have to sort out, when are you going to look at tasks? When are you going to run comparative A/B tests? When are you going to use data analytics? So knowing how to sort all those out is going to be pretty important. You need to know how to set up and run each of those. I mean, which tools you're going to use, how you're going to plug them into your site or your app or whatever it is you're trying to evaluate. And then what are you going to do with all that data once you have it? And so knowing the tools and which one to apply when and where and how to integrate multiple tools is going to be really important. And again, these are not events. They're ongoing processes. It's something that you should build into your business and do on an ongoing basis. And things you want to incorporate permanently. When we get to some of the more advanced topics, I'll show you again some examples and some case studies on how to do this and who's done it and what they've done with it. The quantitative and the qualitative need to be done together because they'll inform each other. You'll learn in the quantitative what's happening. In the qualitative, when you talk to real people, you'll learn why those things are happening or not happening. There also are, and I didn't mention this earlier, but there are a number of tools that you can automate that you don't need to give a lot of time and effort to, that will provide reports and dashboards and things like that, such as, are all your servers up and running? Do you have broken links? Where are you getting the most traffic? Google Analytics provides some of this, and there are various other tools you can get that are going to fill in some of those other answers. When the time is right, and depending on your operation and your budget, take a look at some of the bigger, more comprehensive solutions, because they can provide you some pretty important insights into how to succeed online. These methods of inquiry, making the invisible visible and then acting on it, can be a real game changer. So whether it's analyzing user tests or doing comparative A/B tests or doing larger user experience analytics, it's really going to give you a new handle on human-computer interactions. And those interactions drive your online success. So any of these methods, when implemented on an ongoing basis, continually, is going to change the online game for you and your users. So all this learning about humans and their interactions, it's not the learning that's central. What you learn through all these methods and tools is a means to other important ends. And then first, it's showing you how to get the invisible visible so you can act on it. It's learning how to know. It's learning how to learn. And what you discover in that process will provide some better outcomes for you, for your users, and your business. And you'll experience of having that knowledge and having the ability to gain the knowledge, of mastering the best ways to get at those hidden answers. The qualitative methods of inquiry that I shared here is also going to guide a lot of the other research and testing that you do. It's going to be pointers to where you need to focus. And all of those combined methods are available for you and your team to apply over and over. Once you learn them and they're in place, you'll be able to move them from one system to another and continually update, maximize, optimize everything that you're working on. It's a progressive process. As you learn how to learn, what your users are up to, how your systems are delivering for them, you're going to continually make new discoveries. You'll peel the onion and you'll build on all the methods and abilities that you have. And you're going to be building that for yourself, you're going to be building that for your team, and you're going to be building it for all those users out there in the world that you're trying to do the right thing for.